No other game has kindled the excitement of millions like Dark Souls 1. Wasn't the first in the preferred Soulsborne genre, but it's what put the style on the map, a spiritual successor to Demon Souls. Voices of the gaming community will tirelessly tell you that this game truly changed everything. And everything it did really twisted the mind of other game companies and studios during that time because games were becoming more accessible because back in the 80s and 90s, those games did not mess around. This game looked like just like any other medieval RPG, but soon the people who actually did play it experienced a soul-crushing but satisfying experience to this day. The Soulsborne genre in truth brings that brutal old school style back in the light, but makes it fair and challenging that makes it where if you failed, it was mostly your fault. Notice how I said mostly.
Top 5 Roblox car crash.
We'll get to that though. Now to me, I've only played starting from Bloodborne to Elden Ring and then to Dark Souls 1. I'd be in Elden Ring but not Bloodborne, but I felt determined to give the old school a try regardless. And after 30 hours and beating the game, I have certainly a lot to say about it. Upcoming praise and less stellar qualities, which you can all probably guess. Now, let's kindle the light and bring the fire to the world of the darkness in Dark Souls.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arched trees, and everlasting dragons. Nito, the first of the dead, the Witch of Izalith, and her daughters of chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. They challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone skins. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath, the Scaleless, betrayed his own, and the will fade, and only dark will remain.
First, we're rotting as part of the undead in our cells, awaiting the end of time. When it's all lost, a friendly face drops down a corpse with a key to open your way out of the cell. Now we can start exploration with others not so lucky, awaiting the end of time and themselves. Dark Souls 1 is tragic and helpless, and without meeting our purpose, you may end up awaiting your own time as well in this harsh reality. Though once again, you'll always find a friendly face to guide you on. Everything feels grounded yet so interesting at the same time, it makes you want to know so much more. We make our escape to meet up with the friendly face, not without facing a suspiciously huge door. We enter, but not without a huge, hideous monster awaiting our entry, and finally strikes. Your broken sword would have no place in this fight as it barely scales with your hits onto this thing. But we see an exit he surely can't reach and we take a breather. This will teach you an important lesson that if something is too much to face head on, you have to plan in defense or escape and try to come back later once fully prepared. We pick up something way more useful and finally meet up with our buddy.
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Hmm? Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I, we're both undead. Hear me out, will you? Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family. Thou who art undead art chosen. An Estus flask. An undead favorite.
But unfortunately, he seems to have his fate completely sealed, as in his last moments, he gives us a key and our healing item. Goodbye, dear friend. You were a good man. We face that bastard head on with a surprise jump attack doing huge amounts of damage that teaches us to learn our surroundings, to be on top of the battle, to be unpredictable against your threat. We end up putting the thing to the ground and open the once unlocked door to an unexpected...
To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage.
They place us in a rather safe environment known as the Firelink Shrine. So much has happened, yet zero direction. Will we truly start the game after another face tells us about the 2 bells we need to ring? With this in mind, it's time to truly play. Now, combat has always been consistently good in Soulsborne titles, which is kind of the same here. One enemy is fine for battle, but more will basically gank you to obscurity. That's when the taught lessons from before come in. Just because you got the best armor doesn't make you completely immune. Mostly. You may have to run by or just die with low flash to get more for the way to the boss. Though sometimes those bosses are completely bullshit. There's a lot of decisions. Oh my god, shut the fuck up, dude. Stop. There's a lot of decision making like, do I really need this flask right now? Or what should I use in tight conditions? Or what build should I even go for? You'll always be thinking. Got me more thinking than Elden Ring, that's for sure. Especially Curse. Fuck that Curse. The world can't always be so friendly. But the world can also be not so hostile. And that's when you got the world. And it's amazing. Immersion can be difficult, especially in the form of believability in games. This team didn't care about saving memory. They wanted immersion, damn it. What did this place look like before the dawn of chaos? Who were these powerful beings before their times after you hitting them with the literal hammer? Times when you see other structures in your first playthrough, they may not see much. But when you are in those places and see them from afar now, it's a crazy bash and impact. The connected world is so satisfying, it makes finding shortcuts rewarding and earned. You don't even unlock warp till like Anorlando, which feels that much more rewarding because you've earned that. There's not even that much music at all, because when you're exploring, it's just your footsteps and the things trying to stop you, which creates tension. So when music does build up, it's just that much more powerful. Honestly, you can skip some places if you're interested in just beating the game normally. It's choice and it's expanding which every decision you take. But it's a hell of a lot more fun when you bring a friend or a foe. Now with the bosses and gameplay, as most people have said, combining clunky combat with clunky bosses can leave a lot to desire, honestly. Honestly, bosses are my biggest issue, actually. I know it's a hot take, but they're just inconsistent. See, bosses are extremely easy to exploit, and even if you did fight fair, they'd most likely be stuck or do absolutely nothing. I don't think the bosses are horrible, just a letdown sometimes. Though there's some that are badass and fun. Not the Bed of Chaos, because that's a bed of chaos. The bosses have blood-pumping introductions that create that feeling you should feel. It intimidates you, it terrifies you, and makes you ask, what chance do I have? They are cool as shit and excite you till it starts. Don't get me wrong, these bosses are cool as hell and are often a joy, but most of them are too slow to inflict any damage, and even if they did, it's abysmal. And they reskin a boss for no reason at all. The runbacks are somehow harder than the boss itself. Like, what? And speaking of runbacks, honestly, they aren't too bad. Do I prefer them? No. But honestly, they can easily be sprinted by. Though there is some bosses that will have a bonfire close to it. From what I've seen so far, it's like the Bed of Chaos and I forgot that one queen lady's name in the forest. I just don't care all that much of these bosses, and I wish I did, but they're just a cakewalk sometimes. And the gameplay is clunky, Yet it's not too bad. It's what you expect with some fun builds you can provide yourself with, and classes that shut your brain off and win in 5 seconds. Choice is used gracefully in this game because everyone will have the same experience, but will also experience their own easy tips to conquering the game. And this creates discussion for everyone interested in helping a brother out. Hot tip, level vigor and resistance. It's one hell of a drug. Find and reinforce armor to stand even better against what seems to be impossible, and even transform weapons that God likes with enough upgrading. aka strength is the most fun. Do that one, my friend. And screw poise, I want to look fancy. It feels grounded but not limited, and for me, it's the most fun. Comes around testing and making decisions and sacrifices. With the fear of losing your souls when you're going back to the shop, it's sure to keep your hair up. And that's what makes dying so much worse, and succeeding all the more satisfying. You'll gear up and be well ready for anything by the end of the game. And don't you dare go hollow.
So much to the point to read it. Maybe the game isn't that bad.
That is gross, Jacob. What did you make?
If that's what it takes.